When my daughter texted that her marriage was cracking and her father might explode in public again, I called them back to this room, to this table, to draw a therapy line. He is still talking when I raise my hand. I'm Alma. I teach gentle strength in storms. In this room, at this table, Rafael's voice is tight, Mateo's jaw is set, and Sofia's eyes shine with tired tears. They are all trying to talk at once. I let the sound run for a few moments more, like water from a tap I am about to turn off. Then I put my palm flat on this table. The wood is cool under my hand. I say that we will slow down. No more shouting matches in busy places where strangers turn their heads. No more midnight calls that drag the children back into old fights. If we are going to speak about this broken trust and this marriage, we will do it from this room, in these chairs, with a clear plan. I look at Sofia first, because she is the one who sent the message that pulled us here. Her phone still lies face down on this table. Earlier today, she wrote that she felt a second ambush coming. Not a party this time, not a surprise crowd, but a different kind of trap. She felt her father circling toward another big scene, using hurt as a tool instead of a thing to heal. She did not want the children to see that. She did not want to stand there alone again while money and blame were thrown at her like stones. So I told her to come home after work and to bring the drafts of every message she has written and not sent. I told her we would spread those words between us on this table and build something better. Rafael shifts in his chair when I say the words second ambush. He knows what I am pointing to, even if I do not retell the whole story. Once, there was a night when everything he had hidden came crashing into the open. Once, there was shouting and shaking hands, and a family circle that felt more like a court. We are not going to remake that night. I remind him that we already lived through one storm and chose therapy after it. We sat at this table, signed the paperwork for sessions, and began to repair. That promise still matters. Today is not about punishing him again. It is about guarding the new growth that came after. It is about keeping the children out of the crossfire and giving Sofia a simple script that keeps her safe. Mateo sits across from me, arms folded. He says he is tired of being pulled in as a referee. Rafael calls him when he is angry at Sofia. Then Sofia calls him back, asking what their father said. Mateo feels like a rope in their tug of war. I tell him that today we are going to cut that rope. Not by walking away from the family, but by changing how we speak. Adult-children mediation does not mean carrying secret messages between parents. It means holding a line that protects your own heart while still loving both people. It means saying the same short sentence to each person, instead of twisting yourself into knots to please them. At this table, we are going to write those short sentences down. I push a small stack of plain cards into the middle of the table. No colors, no decorations, only clean space. I tell them that we will not write long speeches today. We will write lines that can be said even when the body is shaking. Lines that still sound calm when they are spoken over a phone, or in a doorway, or whispered in the car after a hard visit. First, we will write the therapy invitation boundary. Then we will write the adult-child line. After that, we will write one more for money questions, because somehow it always circles back to money in the end. Rafael sighs, but he does not stand up. That is enough for now. I start with Sofia. I ask her what she fears most right now. She says she fears that Rafael will turn therapy into a weapon, that he will agree with a sweet face, then use every word she shares in the room against her later at this table. She fears that he will tell the story in a way that makes her the cold wife, the hard daughter, the one who ruined the family. I nod, because fear like that does not come from nowhere. It comes from past nights when pain was used like a tool, not like a wound needing care. I tell her the boundary we are building is not only about going to therapy, it is about how they will treat the stories that are spoken there. On the first card, I write at the top, in slow letters, "Therapy invitation." Under it, I write the bones of one sentence. Then I slide the card to Sofia and ask her to read it and make it her own. She traces the words with her finger. She changes a few, then reads it out loud to this room. Her voice is soft, but it does not shake. She says she is willing to keep working on the marriage in therapy with a neutral person in the room, as long as what is said there is not turned into weapons later. She says that if therapy becomes a place for blame or pressure, she will pause the sessions and return to this table to talk to us again. That is the line. Clear, kind, and with a real, if this, then that. Rafael listens. I watch his hands more than his face. At the start of this talk, his fingers were tapping on the table, restless and angry. Now they are still. I ask him to repeat Sofia's line in his own words, not to argue with it, just to show he heard. He tries once and stumbles. He wants to insert defense, explanation, small cuts. I raise my hand again. We try a second time. This time he manages to repeat the heart of it. Therapy is for healing, not for gathering ammunition. If he forgets this, she will pause. I tell him that agreeing to a boundary is not the same as agreeing that he has never been wrong. It is agreeing to how they will behave from now on. That is what we can work with. Now I turn to the adult children lines. Mateo and Sofia are grown, but they are still children of this marriage. They are the ones who get the late-night calls, the heavy sighs, the sharp comments about the other parent. I ask each of them when it feels worst. Mateo says it hurts most when Rafael leans on him as if he were a brother, not a son, sharing details that do not belong on his shoulders. Sofia says it hurts when their mother calls in tears after a fight with Rafael and asks her to take sides. Both of them feel pulled away from their own partners, their own small homes, and dragged back into the old roles. I give Mateo a card and ask him to write one short line he could say the next time either parent tries to pull him into the middle. He thinks for a long time. Then he writes, pauses, and crosses a word out. He finally settles on a simple sentence. He reads it to this table. It says that he loves both of them, but he will not carry messages or secret updates between them anymore. If they need to talk, they must speak directly, or they can ask for a time to sit down with a neutral person. That is all. No apology inside the sentence, no long speech, just a solid line. I nod and tell him we will practice saying it in different tones until it feels natural in his mouth. Sofia writes her own line. She is used to softening everything, wrapping comfort around hard truths. I ask her to write the line as if she were speaking to a stressed friend she loves, not as if she were pleading with a parent. On her card, she writes that she will not take sides in adult fights between her parents. She can listen for a short time, But if the talk turns into attacks on the other parent, she will say so, and then end the call or leave the room. When she reads it, her eyes fill again. It is hard for her to imagine saying this to someone whose pain she has always tried to fix. I tell her that this line is a way of loving herself and them at the same time. It protects her, and it invites them to rise. Rafael looks from one card to the other. He says it feels like they are slipping away from him. I answer gently that they are not slipping away. They are stepping out of the role of human shield. That is different. I remind him that adult children mediation is not about choosing one parent over the other. It is about refusing to be the bridge for attacks. If he wants to reach their mother, he must walk on his own 2 feet, through his own door, or into a therapy room. He cannot just throw words across the backs of his children. At this table, he has a chance to agree to that. If he does, this room will feel safer for everyone. Now we come to the piece that always lurks under the surface: the money. I ask Sofia what kind of money surprise she is afraid of next. She says she fears that Rafael will promise sudden gifts, sudden debts, sudden changes, all in the heat of emotion. She has seen him do that before. A new promise for a car, a threat to pull back help, a hint that he might change what is in his will if people do not stand on his side. These wild swings make her feel like a small boat on rough water. She wants a steady rule. So we decide together on a simple money boundary tied to therapy. On the next card, I write money and therapy in the corner. Under that, we draft another plain sentence. It says that while they are in this season of repair, no one will make big money moves in anger or in secret. No surprise changes to accounts. No sudden gifts that are really tests. If someone wants to propose a big step, they will bring it first to a calm talk at this table or into a therapy session with a neutral person listening. Sofia adds that she will not sign anything important on the day of a fight or the day of a tearful apology. She will sleep on it and read it again in the morning light. We all agree that this is fair. I pause and look at each face. I ask them to imagine the next hard moment. Maybe therapy brings up a painful memory. Maybe someone says something sharp and old habits flare. In that moment, it will be easy to forget every card on this table. So we rehearse. First, we imagine Rafael calling Mateo to complain about Sofia and hinting about changing help with bills. Mateo practices his line. He says it, then says it again, a little slower, breathing in between. He does not explain, does not defend, does not argue. He repeats his boundary and then changes the subject or ends the call. We all listen to how that feels. It feels firm, not cruel. Next, we rehearse Sofia's line. In our small play, their mother calls in tears and starts to retell, for the 5th time, the same old wound with Rafael, asking Sofia to judge who is right. Sofia takes a breath. She thanks her mother for trusting her, then uses her sentence. She reminds her that she will not take sides in adult fights, and that these stories belong in therapy, not on her shoulders. The first time Sofia says it, her voice shakes. The second time it is stronger. By the third time, even Rafael seems to sag a little in his chair, as if some weight is leaving him too. He does not have to keep begging his children to stand beside him against their other parent. The line frees him as well, if he lets it. Finally, we rehearse the therapy invitation boundary. I stand and take Sofia's place for a moment, then hand it back to her. We imagine Rafael sitting in the therapist's chair across from her, bringing up old fights, weaving stories that make her feel small. Sofia practices saying that the room is for healing, not for collecting points against each other. She says that if the sessions turn into a place of pressure or blame, she will pause them and come back to this table to think. Rafael listens as his daughter practices drawing this line even with him. I ask him how it feels. He says it stings, but it is also strangely clear. He always says he wants to fix things. This gives him a clear way to prove it. When the cards are filled and the rehearsals are done, I gather them and tap them into a neat stack. I suggest that we keep one copy here at this table and send a picture of each card to the people who need it. Not to threaten, but to remind. I tell them that this is not a magic spell. There will still be days when voices rise, when tears spill, when someone hangs up the phone too fast. But these lines give them a path back. When they forget, they can come sit again in these chairs and read the cards out loud until the words feel like theirs again. That is how gentle strength works. Not in one grand speech, but in many small, steady repeats. I speak now to you, listening from your own chair. Maybe your family does not look like mine. Maybe the names and ages and details are different, but you might know the feeling of being pulled into fights that are not yours, of being asked to carry secrets between people you love. You might know the fear that therapy will be used as another battle instead of a place to heal. If so, I want you to picture a table of your own. It does not have to be this table. It can be any flat surface where you can rest your hands and breathe. On that surface, you can write one short line at a time, the way we did here. I leave the family with their cards and a little more quiet than when we began. The room is the same, the chairs the same, this table the same. What has changed are the words they are allowed to use and the words they are allowed to refuse. That is the heart of therapy invitation boundaries and adult children mediation. Not grand performances, but clear promises kept in small moments. As you listen, you can start your own stack of plain cards. One for when someone tries to drag you into the middle. One for how you will invite help without giving up your voice. One for how you will pause any process that turns into pressure. Keep them near where you sit. When the storm begins again, you will not be empty-handed. You will have your own quiet lines ready on your table.